Can I get you guys' attention, please? So before we get started with this review session on Lecture 9, we have a couple guests from the student group AILS, and they'd like to say a couple words to you, okay? Take it away, Caitlin.
Cool, okay. Hey guys, you've probably seen me pop up here before. I'm Caitlin, I'm president of the AILS committee for this year, and this is Anna, she's the president for next year. So we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the AGM. So we are electing our new members for next year, and don't be afraid of being a first year and going for the committee, because both myself and Anna went for the committee at the end of our first years, and subsequently we've been on for 2 years, which has been pretty helpful for us and for the committee itself. So why would you want to go into the AILS committee? Obviously you organise a whole heap of cool events, sports, that kind of thing, networking. What AILS has done for me is, without AILS, I probably would have struggled to get a part-time job. I got a scholarship from it, and I've also recently signed for a grad role. So it really helped me. I'm not like the most top academic person in the world, and employers are really looking for not just your transcript, but what you do at uni, how you get involved, and AILS is a really good way to really get into it and show what you're made of and prove to people that you can, you know, get in there and get the job done. And also, we've met heaps of fantastic people and gotten to know our cohort and other year groups really well. So I would definitely encourage any of you keen to go for it. Don't be shy. And Anna's just going to talk about the roles and how to get there.
Okay, hey guys, so we've just got a few roles coming up for next year that you can apply for. So the first role that's going is we're looking for a treasurer. So basically the treasurer is the person that deals with all the money in AILS. So they get to like budget for all the events, plan how all the money is spent, and look after all the financials. We're looking for a secretary who is basically responsible for like the admin stuff. So they take our meeting minutes, like liaise via email with different people and organise the membership database. And then we've got our public relations person. So basically that's the person in charge of all of AILS social media and advertising. So you get to promote AILS and its events to all the people in uni, so that's a really cool role. And then we've got our events coordinators. So we've got we're looking for 3 events coordinators. So they're the people who organise things like pub crawls, steins, networking nights. So yeah, you get to like book venues, think of themes, places to go, do all that organising. And then we've got looking for 2 sports coordinators. So the sports coordinators are basically responsible for making sure that property students are involved in interfaculty sports and just supporting them on those days. And then we've got one final role, which is the junior rep, which is a new role that we created this year. So that's a person who assists all the other AILS team members to make sure, just help first and second year students get involved with AILS events. So how to apply, all you need to do is email us at ails.uoa@gmail.com and we'll send you the questions you need to answer. And it's just like really basic, a bit about yourself, just so we get to know you. And then you'll need to come to our AGM, which is next Thursday in this building at 5:30 p.m. and just present like a little short speech about yourself so we can get to know you before and then there'll be a vote.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's it from us. If you ever have any questions or anything, just feel free to get in contact with one of us. We pop up on the Facebook page all the time, and the event page is on the Facebook page as well. Cool. Okay, thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. At the top of the hour, I think there was just 2 people in this entire room, and I thought you guys got your wires crossed. But I will repeat, next Thursday we will not meet. There will be no class session. That's the Thursday that your assignment 2A is due. Now, a few students emailed me before today and wanted to go and have a chat with me. There's all kinds of things going on in my universe right now. I'm only in Auckland today, and there's at least 5, 6 students. I double, triple, quadruple booked you guys, sorry, who I emailed. But if you guys want to have a chat in person this week, it'll have to be right after this session. So a big mob of you could follow up, and we'll have a little mini session up in my office to talk about your assignment, okay? Aside from that, shoot me an email for next week sometimes, and I could sit down with you, or we could talk on the phone or whatever, and I could try to answer your questions and help you out. So today's review session is on Lecture 9. It's Review Session 9. And we looked at some special topics on valuation. So we'll go ahead and do the discussion questions. Get into Kahoot land. This is UPI only. Guys, sorry. Randomize order of answers. Sure thing. Classic, go. All right, there's your PIN number, 400796. This might be the lowest attendance so far, but that's okay. I mean, I appreciate that the subject we're dealing with here is really just on your exam. Give those at home, which is a lot of you, a little bit more time. All right, magic number 200. Come on. There we go. All right, 7 questions. Number 1. Based on the Ratings Valuation Act 1998, TAs must reassess rateable value at least every how many years? Every year, every 5 years, 10 years, or 3 years? Choose your adventure. I think you guys are gonna do awesome on these. That's my guess. See, was I right? Every 3 years. I won't even bother showing you the slide that comes out of. No point. Second one, when specifying variables for a mass valuation model, which data format involves binary coding? 0, 1. Are they dummy, discrete, polynomial, or continuous? Very good. They're intelligent, but they're dummy. Okay, so that's usually just yes, no flags or clusters of things where it's 1 yes, 0 no. Okay, true, false. A regression's line of best fit is the line that intersects the most data points. So nails a whole bunch of them. Observations with 0 error. Is that a true statement or a false statement? If you guys are taking Stats 108, I have no idea if you do regression, but oh, it is false. That's right. Now, a rare occasion happened, where a student asked me to cover something. So I'm going to go ahead and oblige them, and I know you guys are going to just love this. So I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to open up the slides. It'll be easier this way. And I'm not going to get into any super detail, but just real basic about what the heck this regression thing is. Now, if you guys are going to be practicing valuers someday or dealing with any kind of property problem, sometimes, just maybe, there'll be an academic paper by somebody like me. And some of the techniques that we use often are things like regression analysis or hedonic models, where you use a bunch of sales transactions. It's the mass appraisal stuff, valuation stuff, the same thing. And in those publications, you can get maybe how much, come on guys, I love you guys talking. Hey, front row over here. I love you guys talking, but not while I'm talking exactly, okay? So there is, in some of this academic stuff, you could actually apply it to understand, like even your assignment. If you want to just show your big brain in your assignment, and you say, okay, how much of a discount will a monolithic clad house receive versus one that's not monolithic clad? One way you could find that out is to open up an academic paper. Somebody like me might have written one, and see what the findings of that paper are. And the basics of the paper, the basis of that finding is multiple regression, or some kind of model like this. So essentially, it's just an equation of a line. Yeah, it looks like that. You have the intercept, which is the constant. Okay, so every house, say, in the model will have a certain base value, and then there'll be a slope of the line that will shoot up. And each vector, there's a whole series of vectors that are independent variables, will have a slope. And what they're all trying to do is they're trying to say, if that house has something that this house doesn't, how much value does that contribute to the house? Okay, could be number of bedrooms, could be the floor area. That's a big one, a good one. All right, so all of those independent variables, the x's, have some kind of slope, okay? And that will form a line. And all those lines are shooting out into space within the model. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to minimize the error. They are not trying to target and hit all the points, the data points. That doesn't really matter if they nail some spot on. But that line, if all these data points are the data you're trying to kind of model, you're trying to minimize the error between your estimation, the line, and the actual known points. Then you could use that line to then project and estimate other data points and that's how they do the mass appraisals. They have known sales, but then there's about 500,000 houses in Auckland. They might have data on a fifth of that, 100,000 sales transactions. They'll use those 100,000 to then estimate what the value, the market value of the 400,000 other houses are. Yeah, so that's essentially what's happening in multiple regression. You have all kinds of independent variables, and for you guys in your lives, unless you end up working for QV or one of these outfits that actually do this type thing, the mass valuation, you might use it if you are trying to solve a problem and seeing what kind of price affects a power line over a house, a negative externality, or some other kind of issue. What does one comp weigh against the other? You could actually look at some of the literature out there if you're daring enough, and it's this kind of method that is providing that guidance to you on the price effect. All right, that's enough. There you go. Next. All right, now you guys can talk a little bit more. It's okay. To account for diminishing marginal utility, an extra blank variable could be specified within a mass valuation model. Same kind of things we talked about before. Continuous variable, a polynomial variable, a discrete variable, or another dummy variable. What do we chuck in there to deal with marginal utility? I think this one will be ugly. Oh, you guys impressed me. Polynomial, that's right. Again, I'll go ahead and open this up just to show you. We're all here, right? Or do I already have it open? I already have it open. Yeah? So things like this, I know you see a table like this and it makes you want to vomit probably. It's like, oh my God, look at those numbers. It's just disgusting. But the main utility, I think I have bedrooms in here, but let's just look at this one because you can model it in regression this way. That's building floor area, and then this one is building floor area squared. So that squared variable, that independent variable, is a polynomial. Okay, it's the same as this, except for you've squared it. Now what that ends up doing is it ends up taking into account that marginal utility. And so, for example, if I have an 80 square meter house and I go to a 100 square meter house, that extra 20 square meters makes a big deal. Okay, I've added another bedroom most likely. But if I have a 180 square meter house and I go to a 200 square meter house, it makes a much less big deal. You already have a pretty big house. You're probably not adding an extra bedroom. You're making your rooms a little bit larger, but the marginal difference the value of that extra, hey guys, the value of that extra bit, that extra 20 square meters is a lot less when you're dealing with that end of the scale of data, okay? And this little trick, adding that polynomial in helps fit that data better, and you'll get a more accurate model, okay? All right, now you guys can talk. Okay, 5 of 7. Which of the following organizations oversees and audits rating valuations in present-day New Zealand? Department of Valuations, LINZ, Land Information New Zealand, Department of Building and Housing, Inland Revenue, boy. Which one of these guys audit rateable values? Man, you guys are on fire. LINZ, that's right. That's where the Valuer General is housed. That's if you guys go and you become a registered valuer, they are the head honchos that deal with that, okay? That's the VRB. They're all housed in Land Information New Zealand. 6 of 7, true, false. In New Zealand, residential land developers tend to calculate their required development profit or margin as a percentage of development cost. Is that a true statement or a false statement? Let's see. Very good. Excellent. That's true. Now, you could just as easily do it on the revenue side, yeah? So it doesn't really matter, but here in New Zealand, for whatever reason, they tend to look at costs. Okay, true, false. Less the cost from the new house price. So if you have the new house price, you take out the costs involved in building the damn thing. The balance is the residual land value, the max bid for a serviced residential section. Is that a true statement or a false statement? And we'll talk briefly about this. We'll talk more about it with the exam review. Now, I know it's a horribly worded question, okay? I will admit that. I couldn't even say it myself. So that might have been the reason for this result. But since we have the top, I'll go ahead and say, let's who got VCon, good job. Okay, I'm just gonna minimize you just for a second, and I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this. Yeah, but, okay. As I mentioned last time, I still haven't, I'm late. I should have handed in your guys' exam. It's ridiculous, an entire month or whatever in advance, but whatever. I haven't done it yet, okay? So I need to do that, and today is the day I need to sit down and do this stupid thing. But I've already mentally decided that I will do the essay question on residual land value, okay? So I'm just telling you that up front, all right? So I expect you guys to be watching this lecture 9.2 over and over and over again, okay? It's not just the mechanics, but it's all the conceptual stuff a little bit before this too. I talk about that. But just know that this is quite important, all right? Now, whenever I try to tailor an exam question like this, I will always say something like, as discussed in class, okay? Now, of course, in the way I deliver class, it's actually discussed online in a lecture video, but whatever. You get the point. The reason why I say that is because there's all kinds of opinion. You guys will have your own opinions. There's all kinds of media opinions. There's everything out there, and not everybody agrees with this. So when you're answering your essay question in your exam for this course, you need to answer it from Mike's world of how I lectured it and the theories and the concepts that I'm presenting to you. And I'll make sure I word it properly in the exam question so that pins you in, it straitjackets you, so you have to basically explain things the way I presented them to you in the lectures, okay? So essentially, you know, it's all going to be about residual land. I'll probably get in a little bit about, you know, some of the stuff here maybe, yeah? What actually is the value of residential land on its own, the utility of it, some of those kind of things, yeah? Because a lot of people think that that land, you know, somehow the land is magic, yeah? But it only becomes magic when you put a stupid house on it, yeah? It's an important thing to understand. It's not just the land. It's the permission, the ability to put the utility of the house. It's the utility of the house. Oh my gosh. That makes all the difference, okay? So the main focus of your answer, again, I haven't even done the question yet, but it's probably going to be from this point forward, okay? The mechanics of how this works, okay? And I'll go ahead and share with you. I have to admit, it's a difficult thing to read. It was written up by the former professor of property, a guy named Larry Murphy. But I'll share with you an article, an academic article, that talks about residual land, okay? The stuff I present, it's like in the English language, you can understand it. The stuff he writes, it's like, it's a bit higher, yeah? But I'm gonna share it with you, and if you wanna engage with it and kind of deal with it, if it shows up in your essay question or your answer, that's cool. Doesn't have to, okay? I'm not expecting you to digest something as thick as that and to make sense of it. But anyway, I thought, since I'm telling you in advance, it's going to be this topic, I might as well share with you a little bit other information that talks about the same theme as me. Larry and I agree on this, so to think that I'm not the only weirdo in the universe, little tin hat about this stuff. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm not going to sit there and lecture on this. You guys know where to find it. You can watch it over and over again. You can ask me questions as time goes on, as we approach the exam, and we can make appointments in my office. We can sit down and have a chat. That's all cool. Okay. But just reiterate again, this is important. All right. It kind of killed me last year. I asked a question about purchasing power, and I basically told students, more or less, not as blank, in your face as I do with you guys, but there was some students that did not get the memo. Guess what? They failed. On the policy, I don't totally agree with the policy of the department, but it exists. And I think it's 40%, 45%, I can't remember, but there's a certain threshold that's in your course outline. If you fall below that on the exam, you are toast. If you're getting a B plus and you hit 40 or 30 or whatever it is percent on your exam because you cocked this up, you will fail the course. I will do my best to make sure something like that does not happen, but some things are out of my control. So it's a warning to you guys. I don't want to freak you out, but really do study this and try to do really well on that essay question, because it could really screw you up if you don't. All right, now let's throw around chocolates and have a little bit of fun. And you guys can talk, okay? Tournament number 1, review session 9. Classic. All right, here's the pin for the first tournament for the chocolates. This is whatever you want, no UPIs required. 531152. Smiley faces. Pieces of meat. All right, give you a little bit more time. Is there really 100 people in this room? Does not look like 100 people in this room. I'm just gonna get hit start. I don't know what's going on. You guys are playing on like 6 devices. Here we go. 5 questions. In Auckland, home developers have tended to gradually blank to achieve adequate profit margins. Increase house size, decrease section size, increase house size, increase section size, decrease house size, increase section size, decrease house size, and decrease section size. Very good. That's kind of common sense. We know what's going on. 2 of 5. Removal of development contributions will almost certainly result in lower house prices. Mike's universe here, guys. This relates to residual land value. That's right. False. It'll go into the back pockets of the developer most likely. service section prices lead and drive house prices. True or false? Again, universe of Mike. Okay. Again, you guys have to, if you read the New Zealand Herald and you read a lot of media and watch TV, this is exactly what you're going to be led to believe. Land prices drive house prices. It's the damn land. We need to free up the land, blah, 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 all this stuff, okay? Existing house prices drive house prices, drive the new prices. What drives existing house prices? Well, that's up for debate, but it's not service section prices. Okay, a lot of it is probably purchasing power. It's probably the money that we pump into this market through lending. And there's other factors as well, but is by no means service section prices. Again, residual land value. All of this relates to the concept of residual land value, okay? Indian boy. Vacant urban residential land has little use or economic value until it features a dwelling. True or false? Let's do better than the last question. Very good. Okay, that's true. I would argue that a service section that just sits there as grass is a liability more than anything, okay? To be able to maintain it, keep it mowed, you know, throwing the frisbee around to the dog, I guess has some value, but not much. Okay, 5 of 5. Unlike the US and UK, New Zealand's residential land developers convert raw land into service sections and on-sell. So in New Zealand, do our land developers tend to convert raw land into service sections and on-sell them? Is that kind of the way we roll? And it doesn't happen like that in the US, UK. To be honest, I can't even understand that question. All right. I don't even know how to respond to this one. Okay. Anyway, in New Zealand, often you won't have a turnkey operation where you'll go through with one developer that'll do the conversion of raw land all the way through, oh yeah, on sell. Okay, anyway, it's a stupid question, sorry. So in the difference between here and elsewhere, particularly US, bigger markets like the UK, is you'll have the Fletcher residential type setup, okay? Fletchers are big in New Zealand scale. They're tiny, they're a little minnow in other markets, okay? But what Fletchers will do is they'll go in and they'll deal with raw land. They'll take the raw land, they'll chop it up, they'll put all the services in, and they'll build the houses. And so you will buy a Fletcher house from them, and they'll start from zero to that. Whereas a lot of what happens in this country is you'll have land developers will create the service sections, and then you'll have group home builders, Signature Homes, or these kind of classic builders and whatnot, and they'll sell the sections, maybe a set of them, to these smaller home builders, and so there's kind of a dual party thing going on. Okay, it's not like that in the U.S. and in the UK, much bigger scale. Big buffoon, obviously not a big buffoon. Okay, where's the big buffoon? There you go. Oh, bad throw. Swole. Oh, right up the middle. Better throw. Indian boy. There we go. You guys are always winning chocolates, and you're always sitting right there. Okay, let's see. Tournament number 2. I'm guessing it's that one. It is that one. Oi! Now, I know where I threw these things. Gotta sign you up for the Yankees. 21 players, oh, people are just leaving. Here we go. I'll hit 75 and we're launching. Launch. 5 questions and we're done today. Mass valuation model is based on sales of what? Oh, what proportion of the dwellings in a given housing market? All right. This kind of just relates to earlier stuff we talked about in terms of the turnover of the market. So roughly a fifth. It depends on the market, but roughly a fifth. And it depends on how often you do these things. As multiple regression is a parametric test, the dependent variable house price is transformed to, ugly looking stuff here. Very good. This only becomes important if you actually are brave enough to go look at some literature and try to apply some of the academic literature out there, okay? You have to realize that the data that you're seeing, the coefficients and all that stuff are in the natural log, okay? It's not dollars. Okay, 3 of 5. Ratepayers may object to their rates property tax assessment if an error has been made by the TA. Can ratepayers object? That's true. Interesting fact, interesting to me at least, in the US, property taxes are much higher than here. And when you object to your property tax assessment, the forms that I've seen, there is no way of even objecting to raise them. It's only how much you want to push them down. Whereas in New Zealand, at least the data that we have of Auckland, it's about 50-50. So half the people who object say, I want mine higher, and half the people who object say, I want it lower. And some of that is a reflection of the way that we use property tax assessment data, CVs. It becomes a barometer of what your house is worth, and we're always relating prices and things like that back to CVs. It doesn't happen in a lot of other markets. Okay, 4 or 5. Across New Zealand, property taxes or rates are based on the value of land and improvements, also known as capital value. It's another one I don't like the wording of this question. So I look at this and I don't know the answer. Okay, bad worded question. I'll chalk it up to my limitations of how many words and stuff I can put in here, but I was, I guess, having a bad day. What I was trying to say here is that in some jurisdictions, some territorial authorities in New Zealand, your rates are solely based on land value, and some, like Auckland, it's based on capital value. So the value, the improvements and the land, and it differs from place to place. So I guess it was the word across. I'm not going to put a question like this on your exam, okay? It won't be as nasty as that. That's just a poor question. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to pretend that I didn't see that. I know, I screwed everybody up. Unlike income and consumption taxes, property tax is a function of actual or imputed rents. Is that a true statement or a false statement? So unlike things like GST and your income tax, is property a function of rent? Does it have anything to do with it? That's right. It basically doesn't, okay? Back in the day, there was, when they calculate property taxes, there was a rent component, and they would weigh that heavily. But now it's all based on comparable sales. Okay, that sales comp portion, like on your assignment, it's all about that. All right, guys. Those who I emailed and would like to have a bit of a powwow to discuss assignment number 2A, follow me up back to my office. The rest of you, I will see you. All right, just a second before you pack up. We will have a session, not this next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. I have invited in somebody from PINS, one of my former students, and somebody from Rick's. Yeah, and they'll both come in. They're fairly recent grads. They're cool people, and they'll tell you about those two organizations, which are important if you're going to continue in property. All right, see you guys then.
I feel like I relate.
Oh, wait. I forgot about the chocolates. My God.
I'll take
Having a bad day. Okay, where is bend over? There we go. Where is a star? Is that you? Okay, where's Brick City? Oh, where's Tess Tickles? Where's Tess?
over there.
Where- You don't look like a Tess. Where's Tony with 2 eyes?
Already left.
Did Tony already leave? Oh, well. Who hasn't received one of these yet? Somebody over here? Who hasn't received one? You? I got 2 more. Who hasn't received one? Now you've gotten
Hey,
lots.
are we in Commonwealth together? Yeah. Oh my god. I keep looking
Have you
at
never
it.
received one?
Oh, I did. What's your
Okay.
name? Oh, nice to meet you, Holly. Olivia. I was hoping we would get paired
All right,
in
you
the
guys.
project.
I'll
and I'd
catch
be
you
like,
later.
You take property, right?